On that note, as we see with so much bile and vitriol coming from far-right, white supremacist organisations and individuals, Zeeshan, what can ethnic, religious and racial minorities actually do to change the narrative that is kind of been monopolised by right-wing media outlets? And is the onus purely on communities to change that narrative, or is there responsibility on the publishers as well?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you, everyone. It's been an incredible panel as well already, so to follow that up, it's going to be difficult. Thank you guys for being here. It is difficult to get all of you to ignore the beautiful city, the seafront, and get you crammed in a room without any airflow. So thank you guys for being here. And yeah, we've been to many of these events before, and the problem is that everybody leaves. They acknowledge that there is a problem. We get loads of facts, but we don't know what to do afterwards. We know that there is a problem of Islamophobia or disinformation or fake news, but where do you go from that as individuals or as organizations? I'll try to provide my own biased views. I do work for MEND, so that will be the majority of the pitch cell. There are various organizations who are working on this, including Hacked Off, including academics such as Professor Cathcart, journalists like Rachel Shalby, including Muslim organizations like MCV. What MEND believes in is that there are essentially core problems that you have to deal with, and there are things you have to deal with on a symptomatic level. So the fact that there's a press that is using the Muslim community as a punchbag, in the words of Professor Chris Frost, who is the chair of the Ethics Council at the National Union of Journalists, he said that Muslims are the new fear or moral panic that is being sold to the UK public. Now, that's a core problem. One problem is that how do Muslims tackle that? Well, you can complain. The fundamental way you can show that you're angry or not, you don't accept the way that the Daily Mirror or the Sun or the Daily Mail is portraying minority communities, you can complain. Through IPSO, that's where most of the traditional newspapers are being regulated by. You can email the editors themselves, but that will only get you so far. We've already heard how ineffective IPSO can be. If you go into the facts themselves, since 2014 to May 2018, under Clause 12 of discrimination, they've received over 16,000 complaints. Only 3 have resulted in a breach being identified. More than 99% have been rejected or considered not to be acceptable. Under Clause 1, which is of accuracy, I'm just going to make space for... under Clause 1, which is of accuracy, 94% have been rejected straight up, and IPSO saying that there isn't a problem, the newspapers were right, you guys were wrong. So the problem in itself is IPSO. The fact that it's not independent, the fact that it is being run by editors, they're self-regulating themselves, means that most of the complaints that you're ever going to send to them are going to get rejected straight up, from the 99% on Clause 12 or 94% on Clause 1. And we've already mentioned Lord Falk, who's going to be the incoming IPSO chair, but the gentleman has already said he doesn't agree with Islamophobia, he doesn't think Islamophobia is a problem in society. So IPSO as an institution, the people who are running it, from Sir Alan Moses to the incoming chair, are complicit in the industry. So what we do need is a fundamental change in the legislation or the regulatory measure. We need to remove IPSO from its duty because it has been shown to be ineffective and has shown to be powerless in protecting minority communities. So you need a better regulatory system, whether that be in press or whether that be another Leveson compliant regulator. In terms of, again, retrospectively, I've just given you loads of facts and loads of bullet points of what's going wrong. How to get involved is a much more difficult question. You can get involved with MEND. We have working groups across the country where we liaise with local journalists. We sit down with journalist students, we sit down with the National Union of Journalists, ITV regions, BBC regionals, and bring the communities together, bring the Muslim community together, bring the other minority community together and the journalists together to help bridge that communication gap, because a lot of the time it isn't that a lot of journalists are being Islamophobic. Sometimes it is that they have ingrained stereotypes from their industry, and they just need to communicate with the Muslim community or the minority community which they're speaking about. So that is one manner in you can get involved. Another manner is trying to change it on a political level, whether that be going to your local council or going to your local MP and fighting for a Leveson Part 2 system. The Leveson, I'm sure we all know, inquiry was slashed halfway through. The fact that it hasn't gone through is a complete disaster and insult to the minority communities, but also the individuals who were targeted by press hacking. So hopefully that gives a few more ideas to how you can get involved, and I think in the question and answer session, more ideas will hopefully come up as well.
Thank you very much.